You slept with her. In my mother's hospital room? On the day she died, Derek? The microphone wasn't even on, but everyone heard it. The ballroom turned ice cold in a breath. Clara Hart didn't shout. She didn't cry. She said it calmly, like a blade sliding across silk. And every guest at the Langston Foundation Gala froze mid-sip, mid-laugh, mid-conversation. The giant screen behind her flickered. It was supposed to show a tribute to her late mother. Instead, it showed a security cam recording, a hospital hallway, Derek Langston and Clara's assistant. Her heels, her moans, his hands. The timestamp, exactly 2 hours after her mother coded. There was a collective gasp, so sharp it seemed to pull oxygen from the room. Glass shattered. A woman dropped her clutch. Someone cursed under their breath. And Clara? She just stood there, center stage, hand gripping the podium, eyes locked on the man who had just proposed to her 2 nights ago. Derek surged from his seat like a man on fire. Clara, shut it off. But the tech crew wasn't in control. Clara was, and she wasn't done. Tell them what you told her, she said coolly, about how I was weak, how no man wants to marry the fat girl who turned pretty. Clara, stop. He reached the stage. 2 security guards blocked him. Clara raised a small remote. Click. The screen changed again. This time, a second clip. Derek, same suit, different woman, different location. Langston boardroom. She thinks she owns half the company. Let her. I'll marry her, take everything in the prenup and be out before Q3. It's just business, and she's just the fat kid I ignored in high school. The air was electric with horror. The audience began murmuring. Phones were out. Some were recording. Others, frozen in place like statues. Clara stepped away from the podium. You lied to me, she said, voice still calm, but her hands trembled now. About everything. About us. About her. About my mother. Derek's jaw clenched. You don't know what you're doing. No, she said, you don't. She raised her hand, and a man stepped forward from the shadows. Tall, sharp suit, briefcase. I'd like to introduce Mr. Grayson Black, Clara said to the room. Senior attorney representing Hart Global, the new majority shareholder of Langston Industries. Another gasp. Grayson opened the briefcase and placed a stack of signed documents on the podium. The Langston board logo, official seals. Derek stumbled back. No, this was your mother's company. You can't just... She left it to me, Clara cut in. Everything, including the right to dismantle it. The crowd erupted. Paparazzi, investors, board members whispering. One woman fainted in the back. Clara turned to Derek one last time. Her eyes burned with something deeper than fury. It was heartbreak, set on fire and sharpened into steel. 15 years ago, you shoved me into a locker and told me no one would ever love me. Derek's eyes widened. And you were right, she whispered, because I stopped needing to be loved. I chose power instead. Then to the audience. You wanted a story tonight? Here it is. She stepped away from the mic and let security escort Derek out, humiliated, ruined, and shaking. People clapped. Not all, but enough. Clara didn't smile. She didn't cry. She turned and walked off stage like she'd done it 1,000 times. Her world burned behind her. And in that moment, she didn't care if the world called her a villain, because villains get to write their own ending. And that's how it all started. 15 years earlier, Brookside High School. Clara, you forgot your tray again, someone called, loud enough to echo off the cafeteria walls. Heads turned. Clara Hart stood frozen in front of the lunch line, cheeks burning. Her tray sat untouched at the end of the counter, but all eyes were on the sticky chocolate pudding sliding slowly off the edge, right onto her blouse. Laughter exploded across the room. She can't even eat without making a mess, someone muttered. Clara didn't speak. She grabbed her tray and walked away, head down, trying not to cry. She knew who was behind the sabotage. Of course she did. Derek Langston, quarterback, honor student, heir to Langston Industries, and her daily reminder that high school was hell. He was leaning back at his usual table, surrounded by girls with perfect teeth and guys who smelled like gym socks and entitlement. He raised his soda can and grinned at her across the room. No words, just that smirk. The same one she'd remember a decade later when she bought out his boardroom. She sat in the far corner near the vending machines, alone. Again. Clara Hart had always been invisible, except when someone wanted a target. But that day, that was the first time she looked across the table, wiped the pudding off her shirt with her sleeve, and thought, I'll build a world where people like him never laugh at girls like me again. Clara leaned against the glass of her corner office, overlooking the city that had once swallowed her whole. Now she ruled it. Hart Global had expanded from luxury skincare to tech, real estate, publishing. The empire she built from scratch after her mother's death and her father's silence was unmatched. But with power came isolation. And Derek's betrayal? That wasn't just about business. It was personal. He had been the first man to truly get past her walls, or so she thought. She'd let him in, had coffee in bed with him, laughed at his dumb jokes, believed the kindness was real. And now? Now he was just another man who wanted her throne. It's not revenge, she reminded herself. It's correction. A knock at the door broke her trance. It was Elena, her executive assistant, and the only person left who truly knew both the Clara of now and the Clara she'd buried to get here. Langston's PR team is denying everything, and Derek's already filed a motion to freeze the merger. Clara didn't turn around. Let him, she said. He's still under the illusion that money buys silence. Elena stepped closer, voice low. Clara, are you sure about this? Clara turned. Her eyes were unreadable. I let him humiliate me when I was 17. I let him manipulate me at 30. The only thing I'm sure about now is that I won't let it happen again. Is that all you've got? Derek barked, slamming his fist against the conference table. A viral video and some paperwork? The room was silent. His board stared at him like he was a dying animal they couldn't save. Sir, one of the advisors finally said, she doesn't just have video. She has voting control. She's been buying shares quietly for over 6 months. Derek ran a hand through his hair. She played me? No one replied. He stormed to the window, his reflection a haunted version of the cocky teen he used to be. The kid who laughed at Clara Hart, the man who kissed her, lied to her, proposed to her, and she knew, all along. She was never just the nerd in glasses, he muttered. She was a storm. His phone buzzed. A single message lit up the screen. From Clara Hart. Let's meet. One final conversation. You owe me that much. The air was thick with tension. Clara arrived first, already seated, already in control. Derek walked in, cautious, still wearing his tailored suit like armor, but tonight his swagger cracked with every step closer. You win, he said quietly. Clara looked up, unreadable. It's not about winning. He hesitated. Then what is it? She set down her drink. Balance. Silence stretched between them. I didn't know about your mother, Derek said eventually. Clara's face flickered for just a second. Pain. Grief. Then nothing. She adored you, she said. Said you were the only boy who looked me in the eye back then. He swallowed hard. I was a stupid kid. You were a cruel one. Derek flinched. Then, why now? Why wait until the gala? Clara leaned forward, voice low. Because you told me once that image is everything, so I broke yours in front of the only people you care about. He stared at her, breath shallow. I loved you, Clara. I still. No, she said firmly. You loved control, not me. He looked shattered. She stood, slipping a folder across the table. What's this? A choice, Clara said. You step down publicly and I won't pursue criminal charges for corporate fraud. You keep the penthouse, the cars, even your pride. But the company, it's mine now. His hands trembled as he opened the folder. And if I say no, Clara met his eyes, then you'll learn what it really feels like to be humiliated. Derek closes the folder and smiles. Fine, you want a war? You've got one. Clara stared at the velvet box in Derek's hand. Tiffany blue, diamond shimmer, perfect lighting. A proposal scene right out of a rom-com. Except her stomach, twisted. He hadn't said I love you. He hadn't even looked nervous. He just knelt there, rehearsed, camera ready, waiting for her yes. And somehow, the air didn't feel real. She forced a smile, accepted the ring, and let the applause from the private rooftop dinner fill the space her instincts tried to warn her about. Why haven't you signed the prenup? Derek's voice cut through their penthouse like a whip. Clara set her coffee down, fingers tightening around the porcelain. I told you I wanted time. There are clauses that make no sense. If this is a partnership, why does everything revert to you if I die? Derek scoffed. It's a standard agreement, Clara. You're overthinking it. Overthinking? She echoed, jaw clenched. It says I get nothing if you leave. No shares, no severance, nothing. You came into this with nothing. Don't pretend you built what I did. Her heart split. The words cut deeper than any high school insult ever had. She built her company, Heart Naturals, from scratch. And it was her brand that made Langston Industries relevant again. She had saved his legacy, his board, his image. But now she was just the girl who came into this with nothing. He walked out before she could reply. And in that silence, Clara felt something inside her die. Clara had never been nosy, never paranoid. But tonight, something told her to look. The footage she pulled wasn't even hidden, just archived. She fast-forwarded through boardroom meetings, empty corridors, late-night logs. Then she froze. There, her assistant, sitting on Derek's desk, laughing, pouring him whiskey. And then, a kiss. Lingering. Eager. Derek's hand slipped under the hem of her blouse. Clara flinched at the sound of her own breath. Then came the words, muffled but clear. She's just leverage. Once we're married, the board's mine. She couldn't breathe. The night was still, but her world spun like a carousel set on fire. She's just leverage. You came into this with nothing. She'd given up everything, her name, her shares, her independence, for this man, for this lie. Tears burned. Her diamond ring glinted in the moonlight like a joke. She pulled it off and flung it over the edge of the balcony. And when it vanished into the night, something clicked in her chest. Not heartbreak, not rage, resolve. She picked up her phone. Elena, she whispered, I need to know everything. Every shell company, every backroom deal, every lie. Her assistant hesitated. Clara. No more questions, she said. We're gonna war. The doors burst open, and Grayson Black walked in, trench coat soaked from the rain. You're serious about this? He asked, tossing a folder onto her desk. You realize how dangerous it is to challenge Langston head-on. The media adores him. They adored Harvey Weinstein too, Clara replied coldly. Until someone turned on the lights. Grayson raised a brow. You don't just want to expose him, you want to destroy him. I want him to know what it feels like, Clara said. To be discarded, to be used, to have everything ripped away while the world claps. He studied her for a moment, then nodded. Then let's begin. Elena, how long have you known? The office was silent. Clara stood in the doorway, phone in hand. The screen still displayed the email, a confidential thread between Derek and Lena. Elena, the woman who had comforted her, helped her uncover the truth, delivered every document, tracked every lie. Also, Derek's informant. Clara, Elena whispered. It started before he proposed. He offered me to double my salary, threatened to fire my brother if I said no. And you said yes. Elena's face crumpled. I tried to stop. I tried to undo it, I swear. But you were already falling for him. And he made me swear I'd never tell. Clara's voice cracked. You were the only person I trusted. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But it did. And Clara realized the betrayal hadn't just come from the man she loved. It came from the only person she had left. She walked past Elena without another word. Clara entered the private elevator, eyes forward, soul numb. She hit the button for the basement parking garage. As the doors began to close, a hand stopped them. Derek stepped inside. Both silent, both breathing too loud. Clara didn't speak. He didn't smile. Then, as the doors slid shut behind them, Derek said, You're really going through with this? She didn't reply. He looked down. You always wanted to be the powerful one. Clara's voice was barely a whisper. No, Derek, I just stopped needing to be powerless. Ding! The elevator stopped, but when the doors opened, security was waiting. Not for him. For her. Miss Hart, the guard said nervously. There's been a leak. What leak? Your Heart Naturals patents, they're gone, transferred to a private account in Dubai. Clara's blood ran cold, and Derek smiled. Clara Hart walked into the boardroom of Velmark Capital wearing a navy suit sharp enough to slice steel. No press, no handlers, no Derek. Just her. The men around the table, all billionaires, all skeptical, glanced up, clearly expecting someone else. Miss Hart? One finally asked. We assumed you'd send your legal team. Clara dropped a single folder onto the polished mahogany. I didn't come to negotiate, she said. I came to buy. They blinked. You're aware we hold 23% of Langston Industries. I'm aware, Clara replied, and I'm offering double what you paid. A pause. Why? Clara didn't smile. Because it's time. Headlines exploded across the financial world. Hart Global acquires stake in Langston Industries. Clara Hart's silent takeover? CEO versus CEO, former lovers now rivals. But Clara didn't read them. She was too busy rebuilding. Hart Naturals had been gutted. The Dubai leak was real. Derek had moved fast, but she moved faster. She sold what was left, merged with a European biotech firm, and emerged with a new brand. Heart Evolution, luxury, tech-infused, female-led, and brutal. Every formula improved, every ad sharper, every move weaponized. She hired a new team, former Apple execs, a Vogue strategist, one hacker, 2 lawyers, no friends. Friendship was a liability. What Clara didn't have in warmth, she made up for in precision. By the time Derek realized she was back on the radar, she was already 2 steps ahead. Derek slammed the tablet down. How the hell is she still standing? His CFO shrugged. Heart Evolution tripled its valuation in 6 weeks. Derek's voice turned cold. She was supposed to be crushed. Another exec added, she's doing a global launch in Milan next month. Front row invite list includes our 3 biggest investors. Pull our sponsorship, Derek snapped. They already signed with her. Silence. Derek leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. She wants war, he muttered. She'll get it. The venue was chaos. Flashbulbs, models, billionaire moguls pretending to be cool. Clara walked through it all like a storm dressed in silk. Her gown, white, minimalist, armor-like, her face unreadable. She took her seat beside royalty, one leg crossed slowly over the other as the crowd fell into whispers. She looks different. That's Clara Hart? She doesn't even look real. She didn't, because the old Clara, the bruised one, the betrayed one, was gone. This Clara was carved from glass and fire, and when the final model walked the runway, the crowd rose. Not for the fashion, but the woman who turned pain into a billion-dollar empire. A man stepped through the press wall, ignoring security. Derek, uninvited, still bold, still beautiful in that sharp-suited golden boy way. But Clara didn't flinch. Came to congratulate me? She said coolly. Came to see if the rumors were true, Derek replied. And they are. She arched a brow. Which ones? That you've become everything I always feared. Clara tilted her head. You feared me? He stepped closer. Only the version of you that stopped needing me. A flash of emotion flickered across her face. Then it was gone. She turned, walking away, but not before saying, good, stay afraid. The board was tense. Derek stood at the head of the table, face hard. Clara's taking market share, one director said. She's launching in Dubai next. That used to be our stronghold. She's weaponizing the media, another added. And your engagement, people think she walked, your reputation's tanking. Derek banged the table. Then we bury her. He turned to his team. Leak her emails, dig up tax records, find the skeletons. But sir, someone whispered. What if she already knows we're coming? Wind roared as the chopper blade spun. Clara approached the aircraft with sunglasses on and no hesitation. Inside, Grayson Black waited with a tablet. You ready? He asked. Clara sat, buckled in, and accepted the screen. It displayed a contract, sealed, finalized. Langston Industries' third-largest investor had just flipped. Grayson smirked. This gives you board leverage. Clara stared out the window. Below, Derek Langston was preparing for war. Above, Clara was already flying toward the next battlefield. And just before the helicopter lifted, her phone buzzed. New email. From unknown. Subject. You're not the only one who wants him ruined. Clara's eyes narrowed. And just like that, she whispered, it's no longer just my war. 48 hours later, Dubai Global Investment Summit. The tension was unbearable. 2 names, 1 keynote slot, 0 chance it was an accident. Langston Industries plus Heart Evolution, the future of bio-luxury. The panel had been arranged by a third-party sponsor. But someone knew what they were doing, throwing Clara and Derek into the same room, the same stage, and the same spotlight. Clara walked into the VIP suite to prep, only to find him. Derek turned, arms crossed, clearly amused. Well, I was hoping you'd flake. Disappointed, she said, brushing past him. Terrified, he replied, voice dry. You might actually wear something normal one day. I'd never recognize you. Clara didn't smile. She turned toward the mirror, adjusting the lapel of her ivory blazer. I don't dress to be recognized, she said. I dress to be remembered. The moderator was giddy, bouncing between them like a host on live TV. I can't believe we landed you both. Real power couple vibes, she paused, then blushed. Sorry, ex-couple. Clara ignored the slip. Derek didn't. He leaned in close, his breath brushing her ear. You're shaking. She turned to him slowly. You mistake adrenaline for fear. Maybe, he said, but I know your tells. Clara's voice dropped, and I know yours. Derek was mid-sentence when Clara cut in. Langston Industries talks about sustainability, she said, smiling sweetly. But they've spent $30 million covering up oil-derived synthetics in their clean skincare. The audience murmured. Derek's nostrils flared. We've since resolved. Clara raised her wrist. A clicker. The screen behind them lit up with a document. An internal memo, date stamped, signed by him. Derek's jaw tightened. That was confidential. Clara didn't blink. So was your promise not to lie to shareholders. The moderator tried to laugh it off. Spicy energy here, folks. Clara leaned back, calm. Derek leaned forward, fuming. The power balance had flipped. Everyone saw it. You always have to win? Derek said as the doors slid shut. Clara didn't answer. His tone sharpened. Is that what this is about? Revenge? Still crying over the past? I'm not crying, Clara said, stepping closer. I'm conquering. The tension snapped. He grabbed her wrist. She didn't pull away. They were too close now, breathing the same air, history vibrating between them like a live wire. Say it, he murmured. Say you still think about it, about me. Clara's voice was razor sharp. You think you left a scar? You were the burn. I became the flame. Ding. The doors opened. Both stepped out, silent but rattled. The sponsor hosting the summit pulled a final twist. Derek and Clara would be seated side by side at the same table, their names printed in gold foil. Already too late to protest. Clara took her seat unfazed. Derek followed a beat later, scotch in hand. Tell me something, he said under his breath. Do you actually believe you're better than me now? She turned to him slowly. I don't believe it, she said. I know it. Derek scoffed. You think you've won? No, Clara whispered. I haven't even started. He laughed once, bitterly. Then something strange happened. His laughter faded into a low glow, quiet question. Did I ever stand a chance with you? Clara paused. For the first time, her mask slipped. Maybe. Before the ring, before the lies, before the footage, before Elena. But instead she simply said, no, you never wanted me. You wanted control. Later that night, Derek returned to his hotel suite, only to find his private terminal was locked out. He dialed his head of security. Why is my firewall pinging Heart Global servers? The man hesitated. Sir, there's a breach we didn't detect, weeks old. How old? Back to Milan. Derek froze. Clara had been inside his systems, and not just inside, ahead. Grayson looked stunned. You coded the breach yourself? Clara sat calmly, typing with one hand, sipping espresso with the other. I studied cybersecurity at MIT before dropping out, she said. Got bored. Grayson blinked. You never mentioned that. I don't advertise skills I might need later. On the screen, every email, every memo, every shell company Derek ever used to move assets offshore. Grayson stared. This is checkmate. Clara leaned back, cracking her knuckles. No, she said. This is foreplay. Derek showed up at her suite uninvited, hair tousled, eyes wild. You hacked me. Clara didn't deny it. You played me. Again, silence. You think this is a game? He asked, voice rising. She stepped closer, chest nearly against his. Everything's a game to you. I just started playing by your rules. They were inches apart, the air between them sparking. You know what the worst part is? He said, voice breaking. I still want you. Clara didn't move, didn't blink. Then she whispered, and that's what makes me dangerous. Knock, knock. The door swung open behind them. Elena, pale, breathless. I know who sent the email, she gasped. And Clara, it wasn't about Derek, it was about you. Elena's voice trembled as she stepped into the room, ignoring Derek's presence completely. Clara narrowed her eyes. Explain. Elena held up her phone, screen glowing with a decrypted file. It's from a hidden server, one I never even touched. But the IP matches the data leak that transferred your Heart Naturals patents. Derek stepped forward. That was me. I had those moved. No, Elena said, looking directly at him. You had one transfer done. She turned the phone toward Clara. This second one was done using your old credentials. Clara's blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying someone cloned you, Clara. Someone's been inside your digital footprint for over a year, watching, recording, planning. Clara's jaw clenched. Oh. The answer came fast, and from the last place Clara expected. Look at this pattern, said the IT analyst. Whoever's behind it mimicked your identity across dozens of platforms. Same devices, same VPN traces, even your biometric patterns. That's impossible, Clara whispered. The analyst hesitated. It's not impossible if they had access to you, like DNA or a blood sample. Derek frowned. Why would anyone have Clara's DNA? The room went still. Then Clara whispered, because someone did. It was supposed to be routine. She'd had a biopsy, nothing major. Results were fine, tissue destroyed, or so she thought. But Derek had handled the paperwork, he'd insisted. And now? Elena, Clara said slowly, get me the name of that clinic. Derek paled. Wait, you think I? You signed the authorization forms, she snapped. He stepped closer. I would never, Clara, I didn't do this. But someone did, someone with you or using you. The encrypted message came at midnight. From, unknown. Subject, you don't know who your enemies are. Attached a photo. Clara. But not now. From college. Smiling. Arm in arm with a girl named Vanessa Langston. Derek's half-sister. Estranged, genius, rumored hacker, long gone. Clara stared at the image. She hated me that, Derek said from across the room, voice low. Vanessa said I was everything wrong with the Langston name. We haven't spoken in years. Clara turned slowly. Then how did she get access to me? Derek didn't answer, but his expression said everything. Elena, Clara called. Pull Vanessa Langston's file. What are we looking for? Connections, she said, to my company, my assets, my past. The file opened, and with it, hell. Vanessa had been the co-founder of an early biotech startup. A startup that sold its patents to Langston Industries through a shell company Clara had unknowingly partnered with during her first year in business. Derek stared at the screen, stunned. I didn't know. She's been in my system since day one, Clara whispered. This wasn't revenge, this was a long con. Derek rubbed his jaw. Why would she target you? Elena spoke softly, because she didn't hate just Derek. She turned the laptop. There it was, a journal entry, written by Vanessa. Clara Hart, valedictorian, sweetheart, perfection. My father gave her the first grant, not me. She stole my future, my funding, my father's attention. She doesn't deserve power. She deserves to fall from it. Clara sat alone, hands clenched around a glass of untouched wine. Derek stepped in cautiously. She's been coming for both of us, he said, and we were too busy destroying each other to see it. She didn't reply. I'm sorry, he said. Clara laughed bitterly. For which part? For all of it. For once, his voice cracked. No arrogance, no armor, just the man beneath. Clara stared out the window. I built everything to protect myself, to make sure I never had to need anyone again. But you did, he said. You needed someone who wouldn't betray you. He stepped closer. Let me help now. Really help. She turned. Why would I trust you? Because I finally have something to lose. She looked at him. Really looked. And for a second, just a second, something in her chest pulled. Grayson burst in, breathless. She made her move. Who? Clara asked. Vanessa. She filed a federal suit against Heart Evolution. What grounds? Intellectual property theft. She's claiming your entire skincare formula was based on stolen research from her lab. Clara's face turned to stone. That's a lie. I know, Grayson said. But she has a federal judge and media already on her side. The headlines go live in the morning. Clara stood, and for the first time in years, hesitated. Grayson looked between her and Derek. You have two options. Go public now and risk it all. Or, Grayson held up a flash drive, or we expose Vanessa's illegal hacking but risk dragging your name into the mud too. Clara's pulse pounded. It was her empire, her legacy, her entire identity. If she fought dirty, she'd win. But at what cost? Clara takes the flash drive in one hand. and Derek's hand in the other. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. By 9:58, the media room at Heart Evolution HQ was packed. Flashing cameras, dozens of live streams, global press. Clara Hart stepped onto the stage like a storm in a custom white power suit. Composed, cold, untouchable. Behind her, a digital screen looping through images of Heart Evolution's accomplishments, until suddenly it glitched and displayed Vanessa Langston's lawsuit. The crowd buzzed. Clara raised her hand, silencing them with one movement. "I'll be brief," she said into the mic. "You've all seen the headlines, the accusations, the manipulation. But here's what you haven't seen." She pressed a button. A new image appeared. Vanessa, captured on hidden surveillance, entering a secure lab facility unauthorized, followed by a string of leaked emails detailing her plan to frame Clara using falsified patent timestamps and cloned data. "I was never the thief," Clara continued. "I was the target." Another click. A clip played of Vanessa's confession, rage-filled, voice distorted but clear. "She took my spotlight, my father, my legacy, so I'll take everything she ever built." The room erupted. Cameras flashed, voices shouted, questions collided, and Clara, she simply stepped back, calm, in control, vindicated. Derek watched the livestream from his office, frozen. She'd done it. She didn't just defend herself, she buried Vanessa. But even as the applause rolled on, Derek sat in silence, because he wasn't thinking about the fall of Vanessa. He was thinking about the woman he once laughed at, now turning her pain into empire. "You destroyed her," Grayson said, stunned. "That clip was brutal." Clara pulled off her mic. She earned it. "But you didn't use the full file." Clara looked up. "You had the footage of her bribing the federal judge. That would have ensured her arrest." "I didn't need her in prison," Clara said quietly. "I needed her out of my life." Grayson blinked. "You held back. Why?" Before Clara could answer, a voice spoke from behind. "She didn't want to become her." Derek. Uninvited. Again. But not arrogant this time. He looked at Clara like he was finally seeing her clearly. "You had every reason to destroy me too," Derek said. Clara stared ahead. "You already did that yourself." "I know," he said. She turned. "Then why are you here?" He took a breath. And for the first time, Derek Langston did something no one expected. He got down on one knee. No ring, no cameras, just him, broken, honest. "I'm sorry," he said, "not just for what I did, but for not seeing who you were all along." She didn't speak. "I wanted to win," he continued. "Even in love. I thought if I could own you, I'd never lose you. But you were never mine to control." Still, she said nothing. He looked up at her raw. "So here it is. No contracts, no business. Just me, asking if there's anything left to fix." Clara looked at him. Her past, her pain, her betrayal, her rise. And the boy who used to laugh at her was now the man begging for her heart. She reached out, not for his hand, but to help him stand. And then she stepped back. "I don't need you broken, Derek," she said. "I need me whole." He blinked. "You're walking away?" "No," she said. "I'm choosing myself." Elena handed her a glass of champagne. "To winning." Clara looked out the window, city lights shrinking beneath them. "I didn't win," she said. "I survived." Elena raised a brow. "And now?" Clara smiled faintly. "Now I build something no one can take from me." She pulled out her tablet and opened a document titled Heart Foundation, Empowering Young Women in Tech Grants, Mentorship, Ownership. Clara wasn't done climbing. She was building a ladder for the next girl they laughed at. The receptionist called out, "Miss Hart, there's a delivery for you." A single box, no return label. Inside, a ring, her old engagement ring. Next to it, a note. "I finally understand what love isn't, but if you ever decide to teach me what it is, I'm still learning." Clara stared at the note, folded it once, then turned to Elena and said, "Schedule me for Zurich, alone." The room was glass-walled and sun-drenched, overlooking the city Clara once feared she'd never conquer. Now, she owned a stake in it. The newly launched Heart Foundation HQ buzzed with energy. Young women in sleek suits, coding, presenting, pitching, all of them had been overlooked once. Now, they were funded, empowered, unstoppable. Clara stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching a 19-year-old pitch a biotech solution for clean water access in rural Africa. She smiled, not because of the tech, because of the fire in the girl's eyes. She recognized it. She'd once had it too. "Package for you, Miss Hart." The delivery man handed her a square white box with no logo. Inside, a second note. "I'm not trying to win anymore. I'm trying to be worthy." Below it, a donation receipt. $5 million to the Hart Foundation from Langston Legacy Fund. No press, no signature, just quiet action. Derek stood under the string lights, hands in his pockets, nervous but calmer than she remembered. "You came," Clara said. "You let me." She nodded once. He looked at her. "I don't want a second chance." She tilted her head. "No? I want the first one I never earned." For a long beat, she said nothing. Then, "Tell me one thing. Anything. Would you have picked me back then? In high school?" "Yes." He swallowed hard. "No," he said honestly. "I was weak, afraid of anything I couldn't control." She didn't flinch. "But now," he said, "now I see you clearly." He stepped closer. "And I know that real power is being beside someone who doesn't need you, but still chooses you." Clara reached into her pocket and pulled something out. The engagement ring. The same one she'd once thrown off a balcony, now retrieved, reset, reforged. She didn't hand it to him. She placed it on the table between them. "Leave it there," she said. "If I ever pick it up, it'll be on my terms." He nodded. No ego, no pushback, just hope. "I was once the girl they laughed at. The girl with putting on her blouse. The girl with braces alone by the vending machine. But pain is a strange currency. If you survive it long enough, it starts to buy you freedom. And forgiveness? That's not weakness, that's power too." She walked away from him, toward the edge of the rooftop, toward her future. Behind her, Derek called out, "What if I wait forever?" She didn't turn, just smiled faintly and said, "Then maybe you'll finally understand what it's like to be me."